Can we call the meeting to order, please?
Wednesday, 9
Pledge of allegiance.
October 2013.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Who's doing what? You guys can toss a coin.
We'll expect to do it. You'll be here until 10 o'clock.
I won't.
That's right. She gave herself.
Does anybody want to offer any invocation? Gary? You certainly may, but guess we'll wait for Kent to come back. Kent just found out he had to do the minutes. Gary's going to offer an invocation.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for all you've done for this district. Pray that you would guide and direct the board and members and everybody. Thank you for everything you do for us. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Gary. Roll call. Reese is out sick. Kent.
Here.
George.
Here.
Bob. Here. Steve.
Here.
Here. Get a motion for the approval of last month's minutes. These are the, not last week's minutes, last month, September 11th.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from last month as read. Second.
Any discussion? You guys want them read or anything? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Old business. First thing I want to do is have the first reading of the fiduciary policy. Ta-da! That was pretty trick. This one on the board here, or on the screen, is a little bit, it's not the final deal, so you will notice a change or two up there. I'll just read the whole thing, it's pretty short. And we'll just have to note the fact that the stuff up on that screen doesn't match whatever it is I'm saying, but it's pretty close. Fiduciary policies, Lookingglass Rural Fire District, Article 1, Income, Section 1, Tax monies. All tax monies received for the district, unless specifically stated otherwise, shall go into the general fund for operations costs. Section 2, Grants and levies. Grant or levy monies shall be designated for equipment, maintenance, operations, or building according to the guidelines of the grant and levy. Article 2, Income. Section 1, Reimbursements. Whenever the district is reimbursed for assistance in emergencies, such as using the jaws of life, the monies go into the general fund. Section 2, Donations. All monies collected from donations shall go into the general fund unless otherwise specified. Section 3, Petty cash. Petty cash is considered part of the general fund. Article 3, Expenses. Section 1, Equipment fund. Any equipment purchased is paid for from the equipment fund. The board defines equipment as any item used by a firefighter, any fire or emergency vehicle, any item on a fire or emergency vehicle, any item used in training. Exceptions are consumable, expendable items such as oxygen, fuel, paper goods, medical supplies, etc. Section 2, Obligations. The treasurer shall institute auto-pay or amortized billing for utilities and other vendors whenever possible, i.e. Douglas Electric paid the same amount every month, all upon approval for each, or all upon board approval for each item. Article 4, Debit credit cards. Section 1, Signatures. The debit card will have 2 signers, the fire chief and the treasurer. The debit card limit shall be set at the discretion of the board of directors. Article 5, Annual Disbursements. Section 1, Budget. The board shall establish a line item for equipment at $1 in the annual budget. Section 2, Transfer of funds. There shall be no automatic annual transfer of funds from the general fund to any other fund without board approval. Article 6, Miscellaneous. Section 1, Member Requests. Members of the district who request copies of minutes, agendas, etc. will not be charged for the first 10 pages. After that, members will be charged 10 cents a page up to 100 pages. After 100 pages, there will be a monetary charge of 25 cents a page and a time limit as to how long it might take to comply. Members who request minutes from more than one meeting will be given a CD, which will cost $1 each. Article 7, Amendments. Section 1, Amendments. Any amendments, changes to these policies must be voted upon and approved by the board. Any vote to change or amend these policies requires at least 3 votes to approve said change or changes. Changes must be presented at one regular business meeting and then voted on at the next regular business meeting. End of fiduciary policy. We'll have the second reading at the next board meeting, and it will be voted on and hopefully adopted at the November meeting. Okay. Any questions, folks? Comments? Good joke? None of the above? Old business item B, we still need a 5th board member. We're still beating the bushes for that. Item C, the Nooner Davidson letter. Have you got that, Kent?
I do.
Sure. You want to read that, please?
Okay. This is dated October 9th to Member Davidson and Cooley. Mr. Davidson, we have discussed this matter with the Secretary of State's office and do not see where our expenditures exceeded the $150,000 criteria as established in ORS 297. The Secretary of State's office is as confused as we are in trying to resolve the question of your charges for the years 2006 through 2012. We have reviewed all the financial records of the district, including the audits from your firm for all these dates, and are unable to find any year in which the aforementioned amount was exceeded. And we need you to justify those fees for the years 2006 through 2012 per ORS 297. We look forward to your prompt response. Sincerely.
So is there everybody out there in the audience understand what's going on here still? Okay, I mean, there's some really interesting situations with charges. And according to the Secretary of State's office, none of those charges should have been incurred unless we had tax revenue expenditures of $150,000 or more. And technically we never did. Not even the years that a lot of money was going out of this district for the purchase of equipment and such, because most of that was done through grants. So, you know, and even more so is the fact that they charged us $9,000+ last year. And this, that just isn't right. And in the meeting that he had with George and Risa, he actually even made a statement that they would normally charge somewhere in the neighborhood of about $500 for the review if we asked them. Up until Davidson took over, Bob Kyle was doing it all on his own pieces of paper and filing the $40 filing fee. So that's why this is all happening. Is it, whether it goes anywhere, whether it doesn't, the Secretary of State's office can't enlighten us at all on the situation. They said that it just doesn't sound correct. So that's where we're going with it. This will be the second letter. If we get a response to this in the same manner that we did the first letter, which was basically a kind of a CYA letter, is then we'll call for a meeting and we'll have him sit down with him and see what he thinks has happened. And because what he's going to have to tell us, in all honesty, is somewhere along the line he's going to have to say that the board directed him to do this. And he's going to have to put it back on the previous board. And that's his only way out. So we'll just see if that's where it goes. Okay?
Question?
Yes?
How will you respond if that is what he says, that the board directed him to do that?
Well, the initial response will be, show us. Okay, do you have a contract? How were you directed? Was this via an email? Was it in person? And if it's not, if there's no contract, then we'll request from him a letter to that effect so that it now is in his words, signed by him, and then that'll go back to the old board.
Shouldn't it be in the previous minutes then of that
technically, it would be in the previous minutes. We do have, however, somewhat of a situation of that is the very last minutes of the last board is that they stated that they had gotten the new contract for Nooner Davidson for $2,200, and they were very proud that they had gotten reduced to that. There's also another set of minutes where Dennis Sifford says the same thing for a previous year, that he had gotten $1,000 knocked off of their fee. However, nowhere does it say that they shouldn't have been charging a fee for anything under $150,000. And nowhere does it say that they directed them to do it anyway. So that's the best we could find so far. And we're talking about a lot of money. We're talking about $24,000. And even if you had hired Nooner Davidson to do the review of our self-review, the self-review costs about $40, filing fee. If you do Nooner Davidson reviews your self-review, they are asked by the Secretary of State to charge $500. And so even if they've done that, we're only talking 6 years, so it would have been $3,000 instead of 24. Kind of a big difference. And the last year where it was $9,000, that one doesn't make any sense at all. That one just doesn't make any sense at all. So we'll see what happens. Kent, did Risa give you something for the hydrant thing?
Yes.
You want to read that real quick?
Risa sent me a note asking me to read what she could report about the hydrant. She says, I'm waiting for Brad at Umpqua Basin Water to get through meeting with Chuck Kaler. Let me know what the total cost, timeframe, etc. will be for the hydrant project. Also, I have a lead on someone who might be interested in purchasing 1.5-inch membership. It's Central Oregon and Pacific Railroad, but every number in the phone book doesn't work. No one ever answers. So if anyone knows how to contact them, we need to find out if they will buy our 1.5-inch membership. Risa. Added to that, I did give her another contact number for them. Let me see if that one may pan out.
Anybody have any questions on that? Driveway inspection report, Steve, we got anything extra on that?
We're still going at that. It's we're doing about an hour a week just because of light, so it's not gonna be an instant thing, but it is going. We're gonna keep on going.
Cool. Did either of you guys have a chance to review Steve's report on the equipment from when he wasn't able to make the meeting last time?
I didn't.
This right here. I read through this, and I had, what did I mark up here? Let me see if I can refresh my memory real quick. Well, the only thing that I commented on here, I thought this was, you wrote, yeah, the way you wrote this was really good, Steve, is the, next to the last paragraph, it's actually a sentence. A program to gain code compliance for fire access roads and driveways should also be undertaken to reduce the risk we currently experience. And I have a kind of an application of a philosophical question to that, and it's the question that we've been raising off and on, but is it the responsibility of the taxpayer to improve their roads to meet the needs of the fire district equipment, or is it the responsibility of the fire district to provide equipment to meet the needs of the taxpayers' access roads? And it's the same thing we've gone over quite a few times and we're still there. But that's something for us to address in the future. So I didn't have any questions about this at all. So I
Answer to what you just said, one thing we did the last couple of days, we've been down at Home Depot down there at the Fire Prevention Day, is Glide has a new small 1,000 or 1250 GPM pump with a 1,000-gallon tank, short wheelbase. It's not four-wheel drive, it's a posi traction. And it's a pretty nice looking thing. They're sending me all the specs on that. And it's
this is Glide.
yeah, they just bought it, and it's I don't know anything about the price or anything. So anyway, it's just another option. And,
Oh, cool.
and I talked to you about that.
We need to
before,
see that.
about the options. Yeah, they're going to be back down there tomorrow, by the way, but I'll have all the specs for it.
Did they have it down there?
Yeah.
Oh, really? So we could swing by there? Oh, I just might do that. I think that'd be a good thing to go take a look at. So I'd like to get a motion to consider this complete, and we'll insert this into our operations manual as written. So,
What is the title of that, Bob?
mobile fire equipment analysis.
Make a motion that we accept this as complete for the mobile fire equipment analysis.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Do we have any questions, comments? No? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Good. Chief's report.
Okay, let's see. We had a fairly quiet month. We got back to normal in September, 11 calls. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to talk a little bit more about types of calls later, but half of those are medical aids. We're at 86. We're at 86 for the year. So it's a little bit above what we have been in the past. By the way, I can give Jerry this. You can put it on the one. I made this one for Risa because she wants it removed. But I can put that on. Let's see what else. The Fire Prevention Day has been going on at Home Depot. They've got 1,000 kids from every school district, except our school, by the way. And we're going to be doing Monday, October 21st, we're going to be doing the Lookingglass school here. They're getting a school bus. They're going to bring them all here. We're going to have 3 stations. We're going to smoke this room up. They can do a smoke drill in here. We're going to have a fire engine with a hose using some of the props they're using down at Winston this week. And then we're also going to have a, what was the last one? A smoke detector, Edith type drill out in the, this is for the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And then we'll also have a program at the school going on for kindergartners, 1st grade and 2nd grade. And Smokey the Bear and Sparky will be at that one. And we're looking for somebody to be a Smokey.
You gotta know the song.
You don't have to say anything, because Smokey doesn't talk.
I think he doesn't sing the song.
I remember we got a simulator from Pacific Power that does the, it's a electronic fire extinguisher simulator. So we're thinking about running the kids through a simulator on how to use extinguisher. It's just a cool thing they can do. It's
That'd be
almost like
cool,
a video
yeah.
game. You point
Be
at
fun.
it and you put the fire out. I don't know if I'm up on letting little kids learn how to use extinguishers yet. I've had the experience of having one go off in my car once with one of my kids, and it wasn't from the back of the car.
Oh, that sounds totally cool.
It's it takes a while.
Where are we?
None of the bills came in for the grant yet. They should start coming here next month or so. I haven't heard. A lot of equipment's been ordered. We were supposed to get the first set of turnouts this week, and we haven't seen them. So we got some repairs done. We went out to do a drill night the other week and last week, and the door broke and a flat tire on the water tender. So by the time we were done that night, we spent some money. I got the bill for the door today, so you'll see that tonight. It was $100, and we use Bunnell Door. They're a local company out here, and they've always done our doors. I'm It's kind of interesting, this happened the weekend before deer season started, so they were gone for a week. And we were able to put it up and down manual, but in the future, I might go outside, just to price somebody else. Like, Overhead Door Company was recommended to me in Roseburg, I hear they're pretty good, so, just to let you know. But it's fixed now.
Good.
Spare tires, in the past, we've done all kinds of different things for flat tires. I've done a lot of personal stuff down Industrial Tire, and I got recommended them. They do a service or emergency call out here for $40. So I thought that was a deal. I mean,
It's a
and
screaming deal.
when you call, they make the fire departments in the county your priority, so you become first up, and they're out here. So that was pretty good. And they had us back in service the next morning.
So we're on their list for
I
that?
have a application to make an account there. I debited that, it was $40, so,
They're good people.
yeah, I've been pretty happy with them so far. We've had a rash of surgeries and injuries with our people. We have 4 people right now recuperating from different things, just to let you know, but they're slowly coming back. And, let's see, 1080, no. That's about it.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. Treasury report, Kent?
We have a slew of bills, which Steve has blessed me with.
Not all of mine.
Shall I read them one by one?
Yes, if you would, please.
There's also a couple of past tax payments that we received.
Oh,
That
a
go
good
into the
thing.
general fund. Okay. Chime in, Steve, if I make any mistakes here. We've got Douglas Electric for electricity, $109.46. The door repair, as Steve mentioned, is $100. Rite Aid, batteries, $15.99. We have a large invoice, Douglas County Emergency Communications 911.
That's our annual bill for our communications.
Due November
In
10th.
November, and so
Uh,
usually about $1,300, I think, is that what it is?
$1,074.77.
so it's
Oh,
less
that's
than,
less.
it is due November 10th?
Due November 10th. Home Depot, various repair parts that Steve picked up on his debit card, $181.10. He mentioned the Industrial Tire, also on debit card, $46.95. ComSpan for phone, $60.56.
Could I comment on that for a second?
Sure.
I talked with Todd Way, the Douglas Fastnet guy, because we have their internet, and he says he can beat that phone price. And also, we have to upgrade our, I wanted to say this in a cheap spot, but we have to upgrade our ISP to a static ISP for security for the county. Does that make sense, Jerry? And that would normally cost $5 or something additional a month, but we're not paying for our internet anyway because they have equipment in here.
Right.
So anyway, I'd like to approach them about the phone bill. They said they can beat $60 easily. And I have them as a phone service and they work real well, so,
Sounds good to me.
okay, anyway.
Do we all agree we authorize Steve to look into that?
Yes.
Yes.
You can hold their equipment hostage.
That's kind of interesting too. The equipment is pretty much obsolete, but they're leaving it here anyway. And so as part of that, they'll keep providing us service.
That's cool. Steve?
Umpqua Basin Water, $100.59.
Just out of curiosity, does that give us the water use total? That on some basin bill? How much have we used for the month?
It gives it in units, I believe.
Water usage this month 1,800 gallons. It says last month was 300 gallons.
Was
Not very much water.
Yeah, a little more with the pressure washing we were doing maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I was just thinking what happened.
Yeah.
How can I forget, Mark? We had such a fun time.
So could me now.
Life assist invoice, medical supplies, really. And that's $123.50. Training for our firefighters by Carl Bolden, $100 invoice. Public Safety Center in Visalia, medical stuff, gloves. Are there gloves on both those, Steve?
Yeah, they, we've been running out of extra large and large gloves every month, and they called me up. She's one of our vendors we've used, and they had a half price thing on, so we bought 2 boxes. They're the breast cancer awareness ones, so we'll be running around with fluorescent pink gloves. But it was a good deal. It was half price. So we had it to last through Christmas now, probably.
Totally cool.
Yeah, if you've been on any medical, well, you guys probably haven't been on, but Douglas too is wearing pink shirts. You're not right now.
Oh, yeah, I saw this
wearing
one.
pink shirts. Everybody's wearing pink this month. So.
Cool.
Public Safety Center, $114.60. Another receipt from Home Depot that Steve put on the debit card. Mainly this is some drill bits.
And that was for the anchoring the
Box.
box.
$31.42. Meeting notice, news review 1526. Our dear friends at the State of Oregon, the Government Ethics Commission. This is 8258. I think so we can comply with ORS 244.255. Staples.
I bought toners for the copiers, both copiers.
Yeah. That also is on debit card 9777.
I'd like to point out that the toner for that printer we have is $67, but the toner for the copier is $27. So it's probably prudent to print one copy on the printer, then copy the rest on the other one, if it's working.
Could you say that again? Just not enough.
Yeah, as you can understand it. Make copies.
Well, yeah, the one's in ink, right? It's not
Yeah,
turning the
okay.
black one. Yeah, it's ink.
Make copies on the copier.
Yeah.
Foremost Promotions invoice. They're subtitled Educational Promotional Products for the Public Safety Community. Various products.
That's for fire prevention for the school. I budgeted $500 this year, and I bought $210 worth of pencils, stickers, rulers, stuff that the kids can actually use. And in fact, we're talking about actually providing the classrooms with a quantity of pencils rather than handing them out so they can use them as school supplies. But they have our name and 911 on them.
It's a good idea.
And also, just as part of Fire Prevention Week, we're down there scavenging everything that Douglas County brought down there too. So we're going to end up with a bunch of backpacks and some other stuff from Home Depot. So I don't think we're going to have to buy anything else.
Very good.
And that invoice is for $210. We have another invoice from News Review for meeting notice, $15.26. And then last, on a shopping scurry by Steve, he went to
Oh, my wife did that.
grocery outlet, picked up a couple of vinyl mats for the station, and we need to pay him back, or her back, for that expenditure of $39.98.
That's the 2 mats that are sitting out there. We plan on, my original plan was to get 3 or 4 more that go along the areas where we dress and stuff. Same with what we had before, but that'd be a one-time expense and you wouldn't see them.
So are those,
Those are the
better
two
place?
we have right now.
was that a better place to get them
It
than
was, it
Costco?
was one penny less than Costco.
1 penny less?
At grocery outlet.
God, no. That all of them, Ken?
That's all.
Can you go real quick, give totals on the accounts, you know, by chance?
The equipment fund is about still the same as it has been, 224,000. The general fund, I believe there's about 8,400 in it right now. And then the other two accounts, there's $1 and $2, just to keep the history of those.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Kent? Thanks, Kent. So we need a motion to pay all those bills? I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
New business. Basically, we are now, with this fiduciary statement on its way to being completed, we are done all the way through item L in our original list of A through P, which is pretty cool. The balance of these are fairly simple items. Item M, and they really are things that are more something that I believe the best way to handle them, and we'll have to discuss this, but just from my point of view, that they just have to be things that are agreed upon by this board as to how we proceed in our everyday business of this district. The first one, for instance, item M, was fire versus emergency medical analysis, which is what Steve had talked about just a little bit ago. Is what, and the biggest question that always continually comes up is, what is the percentage of calls, fire versus emergency? And through the history of this, unless it's changed drastically, it's upwards of like 80% of all calls over like the last 5 years or something are kind of emergency type calls, and the balance are fire type calls. And the only question is how does this district take that information and apply it here? Is what we're doing now adequate? Is it not adequate? Is there something we should do different? Are we doing great? That's item M, and there's really no other analysis to it other than that. So that's item M.
I prepared you guys some sheets for this, and it just talks about that percentage. I don't know, you want to discuss it later or what? It's
Okay.
pretty
Can
straightforward.
I just read this?
Yeah, I will say that our averages compared nationwide are different. We, well, you can go ahead and read it, because it tells it.
You guys might have read this, it's only like that long. Lookingglass Rural Fire District Incident Response by Type. As requested by the Board of Directors for the October 9th, 2013 monthly board meeting, a review of the incidents the LVFD has responded to in the last 2 years was conducted. The results of that review are listed below. Nationally, the fire service traditionally responds to all types of incidents, including fires of all kinds, medical emergencies, hazardous materials incidents, utility issues, traffic collisions / vehicle rescues, technical rescues, agency assists, and public assists, in parentheses, back to beds, water leaks, smells, odors, checks, etc. Those are all the really tough ones. That's what's a back to bed? Is that what it sounds like?
It's like a list for, we have a large number of people in this community now that are getting pretty old, and that's,
That is
so
what it
regular
is.
call, 3 to 4 calls a month are picking people up that are being cared for at home, that either the caregiver or the spouse can't pick up.
That's
Yes.
cool. That's good.
It's actually it's kind of interesting, it's one of the calls where we probably get the most positive comments back.
Really?
Things from, yeah.
They've got to be pretty happy to have that done. So it is just what it stands for. In the last 30 to 40 years, the fire service has experienced a large increase in medical response. As a public agency that already existed to respond to calls for help, by default emergency medical response, and in some cases, transport became the responsibility of the local fire department. In many areas of the country, privatization of emergency medical response has been found to be cost effective. EMS calls make up a significant portion of total incident response, with percentages of 60 to 80% typically listed. The LVFD response figures show a lower percentage than is found nationally. For the 2012-2013 fiscal year, our department responded to 116 incidents, with 60 being reported as medical responses. As a result, 51.7% of our reported incidents were EMS calls. Going back to the 2011-2012 fiscal year, the LVFD responded to 106 calls for assistance, with 66 or 62% being reported EMS incidents. So far this year, 46 of 86 incidents have been reported as EMS calls, 53.5%. These totals do not include vehicle accidents, which are reported as rescues initially and account for 6 to 8 incidents annually. Our incident type response figures are available through the Oregon Bridge Report System. The last fiscal year, 22 out of 116 calls were for fire response, 18.97%. So far this year, 25 out of 86 incidents responded to have been fires, 29%. These percentages are higher than typically reported national averages. In summary, our response percentages differ from numbers expected. More fires and less EMS calls are represented as a percentage of our incidents. That's good, thanks. So, again, this is just information for us to look forward and make sure that we're dealing with whatever it is we're dealing with. This is not a suggestion, for instance, as I've had a couple people come to us about thinking that we're wanting to have an ambulance service out here. That's not the case. It's just a matter of dealing with the cases and the incidents and the people we have here, and doing the best that we can for them. So that's item M. Item N, mutual aid analysis. Steve did a report for us. It was pretty thorough. I'm not going to read it. It's like 9 pages long.
It's on 2.
It reads like 9 pages. The mutual aid agreements, I think that to simplify this just a little bit, again, this is another operational information thing. And I sat down and I just kind of narrowed it down to 2 questions for me that I think will put it mutual aid in a nutshell. Wasn't there one too that had all the signatures on it? Of all the
That
chiefs?
was the contract, that was the
Contract
actual contract.
for mutual aid? Because this is the automatic.
I put it back in the file.
No, I think I had it. I had it from last
I put that
Right.
back. Our original's back in the file.
time. Anyway, after reading the 2 reports, I got a better understanding of what mutual aid and what automatic aid is. And I narrowed it down to just a couple of questions. Is what equipment is required from our district in order to meet our mutual aid agreements that we currently have?
It's like equipment. So if we ask for an engine, and basically that part of that contract sets the standards for what engines are, how many people are on them, who the supervisor is, the incident management system, all that.
Yes, I tried to read all
So if we're asking for an engine, which we're getting a Type 1 engine from, for example, from Douglas 2 as an automatic aid engine, then we should be able to provide the same thing back to them.
if they ask,
Right.
and when they ask for something in return.
Right. Or tenders also. Winston gives us a tender on mutual aid on structure fires. We give them an engine back.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. And the other question was, may we use other districts' mutual aid equipment to meet ISO requirements?
We can't use mutual aid equipment. We could use automatic equipment if it's within the 5-mile travel distance, which kind of messes us up.
That kind of messes things up real quick.
So,
Okay.
part of that I talked about here is Douglas 2 tried to do that a few years ago. We went down to the fairgrounds and demonstrated that with about 20 water tenders, they could keep this water flowing that we had to lower their rating. But they were not successful in lowering the rating because of the travel distance involved with the units that were there.
Okay, so that 5 mile thing started, and that's the
Automatic aid, they don't consider mutual aid.
That's the automatic.
I got it. I don't know if you guys want to put that in there. You guys want to put that with that report or something?
Well, I'd like this one and the other one.
It's ISO's ruling of that particular Chelsea, they don't take each other.
Well, if we can have this one and then the one that had everybody's signatures.
Okay, that's the actual contract.
Yeah, and then if that ISO thing statement, and then I make a motion to put those into our procedures manual too, operating manual. So it'll be the automatic and mutual aid agreement, the actual mutual aid contract, and then the ISO statement regarding the equipment. Is that how that one is, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Does,
that
I
we
don't know if Public wants to know anything about this, or it's just gonna be in the manual?
Do I have
What-
to?
I can give you a 5-second overview of it if they want, but I don't
Sounds good.
Ask them?
care. You want to know about mutual aid?
5 seconds.
Okay. There's two types of aid, mutual aid and automatic aid. We have an automatic aid agreement with Douglas Fire Protection District 2. What that does is basically creates a boundary drop. Our engines are theirs, their engines are ours. If we get a call north of Coos Bay Wagon Road on structure fire, they send an engine automatically. It comes on the alarm. When you dial 911, it comes with us. That's automatic aid, and that's the only automatic aid agreement we have. Mutual aid, every fire department in Douglas County, including DFPA, ODF, and everybody has signed a mutual aid agreement, which was signed back in 2006 or 7.
Yeah.
All the chiefs signed it. Basically, we give like equipment back and forth. But what happens is, like if we get dispatched to a structure fire here in our district, we have to get on scene, figure out what we got, make a resource request, and then they'll honor it. It's not mandatory though. They don't have to honor it. For example, if Winston comes here and says, I need an engine from you guys. Well, if we're busy on another call or something, I can say, no, I don't have it right now. Or else, if I don't have enough people to staff the station, I can say, no, I'm not going to give it to you. With automatic aid, that's different. Theirs is ours and ours is theirs. And if it came to where we would uncover this station, because I had to honor an automatic aid agreement, then I would call mutual aid from somebody else to come in here behind us. And anyway, the benefits are that, and in actuality, I didn't tell you everything. When Winston has had their problems with their manpower and staffing, and right now they're in the middle of a 2-year FEMA grant, which is going to expire next August. So they're going to go back down to 2 people probably or whatever. So when that happened the first time, they signed a mutual aid agreement with us, which is kind of strange because we don't have written agreements for, it's almost like an automatic aid agreement, but if they have a structure fire in their city, we respond an engine automatically. And if we have one in our community, they respond an engine or a water tender automatically. So it's almost like automatic aid, except we don't have to do it. So anyway, there's always a paid fire engine coming to a fire here in Lookingglass. Okay. The one other benefit is the benefit with DFPA and ODF, the Department of Forestry, is as long as we keep a brush truck meeting their requirements, we have access to everything that they have. Air tankers, helicopters, hand crews, bulldozers, everything in the world, as long as we can present them with what they request, whether it's a water tender or a brush truck. So that's a huge benefit. Plus that brush truck also gets us into qualifying. Most of the rural fire assistance grants, like the one we got, are administered through ODF, through the forestry. So by having that brush truck, we were able to participate in those grants. And that's about all.
Questions? That's good explanation. Yes, Mark?
Speaking of that, we had some discussion at previous meetings about the fire cache possibilities. And Jerry mentioned to me that the DFPA used to do that, and would they have any still in our district? Or does anybody know?
I don't know that.
You're talking about the tank thing?
Yeah.
Oh, as far as putting Water tanks out here, you mean?
Yeah.
They don't have any in our district, no.
Okay.
But,
I thought there was one on George Day's property, is the reason I said that,
is that right?
because he worked for him
Okay.
and it
In
seemed like.
his old property, you mean?
Yeah, his old property right up the street here.
No, I've been over that whole property.
I think it's not above ground. I
Like
think,
a cistern of some sort then?
I think it's a buried tank.
I'll find out about that.
I don't know for sure.
I
I'm
haven't
just,
been, I didn't know that, so
Yeah.
that'd be nice to know.
Yeah, would. Any other comments, questions? Okay, so that's item N and item M.
Hang on here.
Yes?
I think you made a motion to include it as a policy amendment. I don't.
George actually made the motion.
Nobody seconded it.
I didn't
Well,
hear a
okay, I'll
second
second.
for a vote. So George moved it?
George moved to
Yes,
put these
made a
three
motion.
reports in our procedure manual,
Right, for each lady.
and I'll second. Any discussion, anybody? All those in favor? Aye. Thanks for keeping me in line there, Ken. Get a little carried away every once in a while. Item C, which is item O, the ISO analysis. I think Steve has given us a mess of information, if anybody's been paying any attention during all these meetings on the ISO situation. And I narrowed this down to just one question, and that is obtaining an ISO rating our primary purpose as a district? And what I mean by that is, when you really think about what this district does for its constituency, one of the big things it really does is have an ISO rating that makes our fire insurance less than if you were out in the middle of nowhere and you were just a 10. And we're currently like an 8.
And a 6B right here. along that
6
area.
here. So there is a financial benefit to the constituency of this district. And I think that as far as operational is concerned with our district now we go forward, is that there's two ways to approach the idea of the ISO rating, and one is that you do everything based on the idea that you're trying to reduce the ISO. And the other side to that coin is that you do everything that we can do to meet our mission statements, and the ISO rating benefits from that. So again, this is kind of a philosophical way of operating. We've already established our mission statements, and neither mission statement has in there that we're going to search to make, our ISO a 6 or a 5 or whatever. I've actually spoken to some fire folks, and they do have that goal. I mean, their goal is stated right in their thing. We want to be a 5 or something. And so this is, again, it's a board kind of a policy statement that is, do we proceed seeking out to get an ISO rating as low as we can, or do we abide by what we've stated in our mission statements and do everything we can to meet those? Yes, Mark?
My take on that is that you need to determine what is the diminishing returns versus cost in each step that you make in the ISO, and then how does that fit into the mission statement? Because the whole point of the mission statement was being cost effective to the greatest number of people in the district.
Yeah.
And you have a diminishing returns.
That's very true. But I think it's not quite as pragmatic. I'm not trying to be quite as pragmatic as that. As much as it is, it's just that, just a very layman's simple deal is, there's a fire over there by Jerry, and I've got a 1-inch hose sitting here and I can put the fire out. Or if I want to make sure that I get a good ISO rating, I have to go get a 2-inch hose. And I go get a 2-inch hose to put the fire out. I'm still putting out the same fire. But in one case, you make your decision first to try and get the best ISO rating that we can. In the other, we just make the decision to put out the fire first. And if we still get the higher ISO, we do. If we don't, we don't. One of the confusing things, and hopefully I'll have some more information on this in the very near future, because ISO just set up a really neat website, and I just found out about it yesterday morning, where you can actually ask them questions finally, and they'll actually answer them, instead of having to go through like 9 phone calls to try and get there. And so we'll see where that goes, but from my end of this board, is I would like us to just totally focus on the mission statements that we've already agreed to, and then work on how we can reduce our ISO, or yeah, it would be reduced, I guess, a lower number in our ISO rating. So again, this is just a philosophical issue, and we can just kind of put this one to rest if that's where we are. We don't have to do any more analysis. I'm trying to get away from the weekly meetings, folks. We're almost there.
Can I comment on that for a second?
Sure.
That ISO mitigation website, for example, you're talking about cost. They have a chart you can print that tells you from, in general, from rating to rating, how much it's going to save you. We've already made the major savings are from 10 to 8, 7, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
The cities will try to go lower, because if you have a big, huge business or something, a 1-point rating drop can make $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year. It's not going to do that here for us. We're talking like 20% of your insurance or something. And also, as long as we don't have a fire hydrant system spread through the area, the lowest we can go is an 8 anyway, as long as we're using water toters.
So what if you supplement it?
Well, that's a question to ask them, as a matter of fact, and that would be, my recommendation would be to pick up as many hydrants as we can over the years, and get some water set up out there in the further reaches. Now, what that's going to get us, that it can get us down to, we're an 8B right now, that can get us down to an 8, an official 8, as long as we're still doing water tender and tank type supplies. And there may, the benefit to that looks like about 9% maybe in your insurance rates, if your insurance company uses ISO's rates.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that seems like a relatively low cost if we put a couple strategically placed 10,000 gallon tanks or something like that. But
Well, we just have to research that. So
Texas Department of Insurance, TDI, it's a website if you want to read. They have probably one of the best general question and answer things about ISO of anybody. They try to make it real simple for the public and everybody to, all those little questions you have, they probably have 10 or 15 pages of just answers. So,
this new website is their litigation website.
right.
So they actually give you a true answer, because it's as if it was in litigation, as opposed to just being a straight opinion. So it'd be interesting to see when you could plug it in, if it does do anything. Yeah, Jerry.
To what extent does our current insurance carrier consider ISO for rates?
It all depends on who your insurance carrier is. Like State Farm says that they don't, but they do. And the factors are the same.
I think almost all.
And almost everybody does. I can tell you the differences in the rates between 3 different companies I had, at 8, 9, and 10.
But who is our current carrier?
Enough is for you, for your house insurance is what we're talking about.
So
It's your fire insurance.
So it affects homeowners.
The homeowner's fire insurance is what we're talking about, yes.
And commercial too, like the store and those kind of things. And so it affects individuals.
Yeah. So the 9% you just talked about would be a 9% reduction in your home fire premium.
Okay.
Yeah, Bruce?
Well, I think that you're on the right track. With the mission statement, it would benefit the community to have water sources out there.
Right.
And then ISO is just going to follow suit.
It'd actually be pretty simple to do, and it wouldn't be very expensive in the future to do that.
ISO is like a recognized standard, and in general, it's all technical and a bunch of statistics, and it's a huge paper nightmare when you go through the evaluation. But in general, they're trying to save money. That's what they do, because they're an insurance company. But that seems to, over history, prove out that the same things that are causing fire loss also cause fire, injuries. There's more people getting injured, there's bigger fires, there's more firefighters getting injured. So by meeting their standards, and their standard again is based totally on insurance, you know, and making their 15% profit. But it meets our needs too, because it's the same factors are involved, you know. If you reduce the fire loss, you're reducing the injuries and everything else for us. But I think we're about there. So 6 and 8B, as far as a rural area, is about as good as you can get for what we have. 8. 8 would be better. I mean, that's the best thing we could do. We might be able to pull that off either with another water tender or else having some well-placed tanks around here, because it's all on how fast you can refill your tenders and keep pumping water.
What is the rating now?
6 and 8B.
What is it?
8B and 6. It's 6 within 1,000 feet of a hydrant and 8B in the rest of the district.
You guys have any comments? Ken, George?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll just go on with that. Item P, which is the last item on the list, is fire regulation applicability and adoption analysis. And basically, the only thing there is that, and this is something that Steve would look to you for, is as I understand it, you know, we're basically, which fire regs and codes should this district adopt? I mean, because as I understand it, we have to, it almost sounds formally adopt what fire regs and regulation or codes we're going to try and adhere to.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I researched that today, and I'm not prepared to give you a written report on it tonight, but I can tell you a little bit about it.
Okay.
The ORS,
You know more than me.
the ORS 478 is all about rural fire districts, and it goes all the way through. If you remember when I'm not going to say they, not me, we're trying to disband and reform the district and all that stuff. Well, all that is under 478. So part of it is the fire prevention code. So we may adopt the fire prevention code. However, if we adopt one, the county, since we're a district within the county, they have to approve us adopting that code. Because currently we're under the Uniform Fire Code or the Oregon Fire Code, which the state adopted, and then the county adopted that. So because we're in a county, we're not a city boundary or something, we actually are under the uniform, excuse me, they call it the Oregon Fire Code 2010. So as far as inspections, it gets delegated. Douglas County hasn't accepted the fire inspection side of it. The building department does building inspections, but the fire side, they left with the state. So the state fire marshal, who's Michelle Stevens, who's currently based out of Medford, does our fire safety inspections. And as a state fire marshal, they can inspect any building in the state other than a residence, a private residence. But their main job is schools, hospitals, the state mandated assemblies, and then also federally mandated nursing homes. There's 3 or 4 other ones. But anyway, so she's doing those. So she does our school every year, but she's one, and she's in Medford. We have a local state fire marshal. There's an office at the state troopers office right across from Coastal and next to Napa down there. Well, it's not filled right now. Chris Lyman used to be it. He was our local one. He's not there anymore. And they also have a temporary office in Winston. They go down and spend like 1 or 2 days a week in Winston. But they're not there. Supposedly they just hired a brand new fire marshal. She's not there yet, but she's going to be based in Roseburg. So they'll be better at the state mandated inspections, commercial buildings and all that kind of stuff. So as of now, they would be doing those types of buildings in our area.
Does that go for family units too? Or is that
Well,
considered
I'm
like
not sure about private residence, because it just says private residence, so I'm not sure.
Yeah,
if it's
so with
multifamily or
that,
not.
yeah, then we need to find out.
Yeah, I can find out more about that. I just started, I found like 20 or 30 pages of that.
So then, do I understand this correctly, is that then we right now, because of the state to county to us, have already
We're operating under counties.
adopted the Oregon Fire Code 2010.
Right,
So that answers the question.
right. And then, however, it's inspection powers for us to do inspections. I don't know if we want, if we adopt this code, then there's a lot of other provisions. We have to get involved in plan checks and all that stuff with the county. when new construction goes in up here, and we probably don't want to do that, I don't think.
Well, you told us, you gave us that,
Yeah.
report on the whole fire marshal
Right.
inspection thing we don't want to do, yeah.
So anyway,
Okay.
we can adopt a code and take that.
That
If we
answers-
need to, we have to get trained to do inspections and all sorts of stuff. I don't really want to get into that, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's,
Yeah.
so, or I can write that up, don't put it for your manual. I just downloaded it too.
That would be cool. Yes.
Does NFPA come into play with any of this? I mean, Oregon has adopted some of NFPA's, and that's the ones we've adopted, but you
Right.
guys go by the NFPA standards too, right? So
Yeah,
is that something that needs to be adopted if you're going to comply with their?
Or taking that to the next step, is that part of the Oregon Fire Code? In other words, are there NFPA standards in that?
Yeah, there are for all
Some.
kinds of different.
There's some,
Fuel,
but
refilling, fuel stations, all that kind of stuff, yes, there is.
Can you just kind of, in your spare
We'll try
time,
and find that.
try and find out? Good question.
And then a lot of the NFPA standards are,
I was
like,
being considerate.
in our training, the Department's Public Safety Standards of Training, they've adopted NFPA standards. For us to stay accredited as a fire department, our units have to be the NFPA 1911 and 1901. We already talked about those before, about vehicles.
so you're
Oregon
complying with
OSHA
them, or are
has-
they officially adopted? I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's adopted in the ORS, it's a law.
So you're complying with the ones that
Right.
Oregon State is complying with,
Right.
not anymore.
And the basis for this is that we really should have a statement in our operations manual that this district adheres to or has adopted, or whatever word you want to use, Oregon Fire Code 2010 and then sections X, Y, and Z of NFPA. I mean, we should have that somewhere that just says that, or at least something close.
And this leads all the way back to the access thing we've been talking about.
Mhm.
I mean, it's led me all over the place, but basically, the Oregon Fire Code talks about access roads, which is different than a driveway. You're supposed to have a driveway within 150 feet of your house. If you don't have a driveway, it has to reach within 150 feet of your house. It's got to be 12 feet wide, 13.6 high. An access road, it has to be 20 feet wide, all purpose. That serves more than 5 houses. So like Larson would probably be an access road, technically. And that all comes in the International Urban Interface Code, which the Oregon Fire Code refers you to that, and that's what the district.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of goes back to something else you were talking about. If somebody builds out here in the forest that's not in our district, there's a covenant now with all the forest, BLM and Forest Service, that they require them to join the nearest fire district. And then all those codes become the fire district.
Even if they're out of the district, they're
Right.
required. Oh, really?
Right. So
Okay.
it's a covenant they make the landowner or the developer sign. So it's a tangled web.
It always is, bureaucracy. Do you guys have any questions on this or comments? I would like to just put our list to bed. Items A through P is being relatively completed as of this evening. Unless you have some further desire to do some more research on these items.
Just get clarification on the last couple of things that Steve had.
I'll write you something on the fire regulations.
Okay?
We should probably have a copy of ORS 478 that talks specifically about real fire
We do.
protection
That's
districts.
in there. We've already got that.
All right.
Very cool. Wow, we made it through all A through P. Anybody out there have any more comments on that before we adjourn?
Having gone through all this, does that mean there's no longer a need for the weekly meetings?
Yes.
So the next meeting will be the monthly meeting
The
in
next
November?
meeting will be a monthly meeting, the November meeting.
Okay. Way to go, board.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a slog.
It actually went faster than I thought it would.
What date will that be? Anybody know? The second Wednesday? Do we have a calendar? No calendar.
So they
13.
said smart.
13.
The 13th?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. The next item on here that This was under what, new business? That's not new business.
No.
Yeah,
You got E
new
there.
business item M, N, O, P, yeah, right. I put this under new business just because we are now to that point of desperation as far as secretary is concerned, that we're willing to separate those out. So if you know of anybody that's willing to do just the secretarial chores, which would just be the monthly meetings now, no weekly meetings. So it'd just be the monthly meeting, take those notes, produce the minutes, etc. So if anybody knows somebody that just needs something to do on a Wednesday evening, point them our way. Item 10, communications. Did we get any letters or communications of any sort from anybody?
I got the reapplication for our current umbrella insurance policy. And like I told you before, we're gonna be talking with somebody else, SDAO.
Right?
It ends up that our current insurance brokers can also have offered in the past to do a SDAO quote, and they were never taken up on it. So I'm still thinking about going with a different broker just to get somebody else's view on it. I don't know what you guys think about that.
For comparative, you mean?
Yeah.
All right, I'm all for that.
Because
You
the
guys-
guy already
It's
sells
always
us
a good
insurance.
idea.
The guy
Yeah.
already sells us insurance and he can go different, but if I was figuring to go to outside and see what the comparisons
Yeah.
were.
Are you guys up for authorizing Steve to do that?
Oh, yeah.
I am.
Yes. Any good of the order? Yes, Mark?
There'll be somewhat of a delay on the printer I promised to donate. It's malfunctioning. I think it needs a new fuser. So that's why it's not here yet.
Cool. New. Gotcha. Anybody else? Yeah, Jerry.
Bruce has posted some of the videos on YouTube now of some of the meetings starting in July of this year. And what I did to link to them is just to link to our YouTube, what's called a channel for our group. And so it lists out all the videos that we have for our group. And then you can just click on it and see whichever video you want. That way I don't have to keep, each time Bruce puts one up, I don't have to keep adding it to a list. You just go to the channel.
Cool. If I may just for a moment. Has everybody in this room looked at the website?
Yes.
I got on there yesterday, and I was impressed the last time I was on there, which was, I don't know, a month ago. I was totally impressed. You're doing a great job. I mean, it's amazing what you can do on there just by clicking and start searching around. And the information, the ease of use, and I'm not a computer guy. Cool. Great job. Great job. Yeah, Bruce.
That, you notice that one video is 2 parts and one is 5. Well, I thought I'd found, talking to our mutual guru, we thought we'd found the program to shrink these huge 1.8 gigabyte
Oh yeah, what you told us last
files.
time.
And all it does is it breaks it up into 15-minute units.
Oh, so you got to watch 5 of them.
Yeah, but they're smaller.
For-
So we're not there yet, but we're still searching.
Okay.
It's like an advertisement in your TV program. You know?
Why is one of the parts like an hour long or something or more?
I don't know. And see, the problem, you know, with putting this stuff on your computer, these programs, you get like 6 toolbars and free scans, and so you spend 20 minutes going deleting programs and
Hey, I don't like this.
No.
That's why we have people like Jerry.
well,
You go to ask him.
and so it may not be a freeware program. I may have to buy something
Okay.
in the
well,
future. You know, I mean, it can't be an expensive program,
Keep us informed.
but we'll find something.
Any public question and answer? We really don't really need the public question and answer because we have question and answer all through the meeting, but now's your chance. No? Move to adjourn? No more weekly meetings.
I'll move to.
Yeehaw.
You hear me?
All those in favor? Aye. Adjourn. Thanks, everybody.